Well, welcome. This is Rocky Romero with Peers on Demand. It's just my pleasure to be able to introduce to you Ethan Chazin from the Chazin Group. Ethan, welcome. Glad to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
So let's get started, Ethan. I wonder if you might share a little bit about yourself and your business. Ethan?
Certainly, absolutely. Rocky, I spent 20 years in corporate America leading organizations through transformation in their marketing, product development initiatives. Um, Had an epiphany that I wanted to go out on my own and start working with organizations directly to help guide them and navigate them to success. So I've spent the last 13 years now. It goes by so quickly, 13 years as an organizational development consultant. And what I really do, Rocky, is I work with organizations to unleash their people's untapped potential, therefore increasing their employees' performance and productivity and profitability. And I really do that three ways. For starters, I work with an organization's employees to deliver very measurable results-based training and development. The second thing I do for organizations is I work with their leadership teams, their executive teams, both one-on-one and in teams, to help them create synergy around their short and long-term strategy. And the third thing I do is I consult with organizations how to build incredibly powerful pro-employee organizational cultures.
Let's just be clear. Who would you say is your ideal client?
You know, Rocky, I've given a lot of thought to my ideal client, and it certainly is not based on size or industry sector. I mean, I've worked with organizations, for profits that are multinational corporations. I've worked with family businesses, startups, everything in between. But I've also worked with not for profits and government agencies. The type of client that I work most effectively with and have the strongest impact on really shares two characteristics. One is they have a very strong organizational culture of valuing their employees. And associated to that attribute, the second thing that I need to be able to work with an organization effectively is they invest in training and developing their people. So not so much specific to for-profit, nonprofit, industry sector, but I would also say typical size is between 50 and 500 employees.
And I wonder if you could share one of those stories where they received tremendous value by working with you, Ethan.
Oh, absolutely. So there was a U.S. state-based education consortium a few years back that reached out to me when they were in a state of organizational crisis. They were having a lot of interpersonal dynamic issues with their staff, between their executive director, the executive director's leadership team, and down to their staff. And so I was brought in to do an assessment of what could be done to fix a lot of that internal division. And so the way I approached it, Rocky, was I interviewed the executive director and got their insight into where they thought some of the disconnects were. I then interviewed the leadership team, but also all staff members. So I spoke to nearly all of the 30 staff members. I also did a bit of surveying to really get an objective assessment of where there was the greatest opportunity and the greatest challenge. I then worked with the entire nonprofit to design and develop the subject matter, the content for a weekend retreat. So before we held the retreat, after I designed and developed the curriculum, I sat with the executive director, the leadership team. We went over the offerings, the content, and then I facilitated this weekend, very intensive, very at times painful, but ultimately rewarding, transparent, almost cathartic working together. So I did it by facilitating the whole group working together, subgroups, individual breakout session work. And at the end of that training session, I then designed a set of about 50 strategic recommendations that I delivered to the executive director, the senior leadership team. And then, as always, I did post-training and development evaluation to see what people really enjoyed, felt was constructive, where there was opportunity. And with those recommendations and the evaluation feedback, was able to deliver this nonprofit organization a really powerful, both a short-term within the year that we did it, as well as a long-term strategy for them to implement people development initiatives around some core content around emotional intelligence, effective communication, being actively engaged, treating one another with respect, civility, trust. We did a lot of collaborative, team-based, work development, all the things that we would call, you and I, soft skills or non-technical professional development skills. And as a result, their turnover rate 3 months after completion of the training went from organically, they had about a 75% staff turnover. So every year, 3 out of 4 people would leave, to after the training program that we initiated and the follow-up recommendations, they went down to a less than 5% turnover rate. So that was a fun kind of engagement that I love to do with my clients.
Businesses, both profit and nonprofit, love to be able to connect with you. So I'm curious, what's the best way for somebody to reach out and connect with you, Ethan?
Oh, absolutely. So one way is my website, the Chazin Group, CHAZIN group.com, or just shoot me an email at ethan@thechazingroup.com. And I'd love to have conversations with people who either lead teams, run a business, lead an organization, or are just part of a leadership team. And you know what, Rocky, they're stuck. And they really think that there's some value in coming in and looking at the people side of their enterprise.
Well, the world is better because of who you are, Ethan, and the value that you bring. Certainly grateful for you to be able to just share some views, some thoughts, some ideas. Look forward to really connecting with you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Rocky.